Okay, my name is Latara Brewster. This is my PowerPoint on family forms. Okay, I chose step families as one of them. A step family can be described that as a family that is formed on the remarried or divorced or widowed person, including one or more children. And I use the example as a step family from the movie Step Brothers, where they become one family based upon the marriage of the parents, and you see the struggles of them being a step family. The two brothers you see in the upper left-hand corner, they have to adapt to each other and change. They argue, they fight, there's conflict within the family. So I thought that was a pretty good example, and most people have seen this movie Step Brothers. Okay, the benefits to step families are happiness, satisfaction, and stability. I believe happiness is a benefit of having a step family because it's sort of like you could think of it as a fresh start to start over from previous marriage or widowed or somewhat. Satisfaction. Um, my boyfriend was from a step family and his dad wasn't there, so when he got a stepdad, it's kind of like it filled the void and gave him that father-son satisfaction as well as stability. I chose stability as well because coming from maybe a single parent home and you're getting a stepdad now, it creates more stability financially and so forth. Okay, the challenges that are within a step family are step family conflict. I chose this from our textbook because during the step family conflict, I've been there during some, it's somewhat at times an awkward situation because the step parent has to decide when to step in, and then the biological parent has to know when to tell the step parent sometimes, maybe if they're going too far, or it just all totally depends on the family dynamic. Children's living arrangement, I believe that can be a challenge if the child is living with their father, their biological father, then they're going back home to their biological mother's house and there's a step parent there. It can create a hassle between both families. The balance of power goes along with less parental control due to more influential parents somewhere else. Um, Example would be a step family that is having a child go to their biological family's house as well as back to his regular home with his step family. When a child goes to their father's house, for instance, they're allowed to do this, that, so forth. But when they go back to their home with their step family, with their mother, it becomes a balance of power. Typically, I know children can think, well, I did this here, so I can do it here. And that becomes a power of balance. And that's why I use this picture here as this man balancing. And the picture here I use is just to describe that the less parental control due to more influential parenting somewhere else. Okay, so for step families, the concept and theories, on page 452, it said that blended families have been given negative stereotypes. A step family can never be as good as a family in which children live with both natural parents. I believe that's a negative stereotype because I've seen firsthand that sometimes coming from a step family can be a positive thing opposed to living with both parents who could possibly be fighting all the time, causing negativity and so forth. A a theory or a concept I should say that I got from page 457 is boundary ambiguity. It means a state when family members are uncertain in their perception of who is in or out of the family or who is performing what roles and tasks within the family. That actually reminds me of going back to um, step family conflict because it's a boundary ambiguity as to who's going to step in when can they say this, what role is appropriate for them, and what task within the family. And that's why I chose this picture. I thought it was funny. And I chose this picture here. When in your life have you been a victim of stereotyping and liked it? I'm pretty sure step families don't like having that stereotype that they can never be a good family. The second family form that I chose was nuclear family. Now, nuclear family is pretty much composed of the husband, wife, and their children. An example of a nuclear family, as many people are in social media and television and so forth, can be seen on The Walking Dead between the relationship of Rick, Carl, and his wife Lori. That would be an example of a nuclear family. The benefits of a nuclear family can be found on page 92 in our textbook, the functional needs of nuclear family system. So, functional needs, in my perspective, means that there are certain things that a father needs to speak with or communicate with on a level with his son, and there's more appropriate situations when a mother and a son need to have a relationship, and that just basically sums up the functional needs of the nuclear family. The mother is can be viewed as she speaks to the child in depth about so and so forth with the father and the son, so forth, and that's just the functional needs to keep the family going. Challenges in the nuclear family I did find on page 12 can be social trends. One being a new communication and reproductive technology. Two, changes in America's race, ethnic composition. And three, economic uncertainty. I believe the major one of these would have to be number one, communication reproductive technology, as opposed to the typical nuclear family in the 1950s. There was no cellular devices, so families actually did communicate over dinner, throughout the day, and so forth. Now everything's just done over the phone, via Facebook, instant messenger, and so forth. And another one of these I found really important would be number three, the economic uncertainty. Um, as we know, we took a big hit in the 2008 stock market crash, and it did cause a lot of layoffs, recessions, job loss, stock loss, and job cuts, and that can create a huge challenge in the family. As we've been learning in our textbook through marriage, one of the main difficulties in a marriage is finances. So I believe that one and three are very important. And then I am not to leave out two, but America is changing as we've known as social construction. Changes in America's race, ethnic composition. It can be challenging when there's an interracial marriage and there's so much negativity coming in from the outside perspectives and so forth. Okay, concept and theories that I found on nuclear family. There was a quote on page 7 that said postmodern theory is that there's only 7% of families fit the 1950s nuclear family of married couple with children. And that's why I did post this picture here. It's not so much common as in today's society. And a term that I found interesting was social institution, predictable ways of thinking and behaving, beliefs, values, attitudes, and norms. So that's what you could find in a nuclear family. The third form of family that I chose was LGBT parents. LGBT parents can be simply described as the parenting of children by either lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender parents. An example of LGBT parenting can be seen in the TV show known as The Fosters. The children are parented by two lesbian mothers, as pictured here in the bottom. It's been quite a popular show. The benefits of LGBT parents are that many children of gay, male, or lesbian couples gives them security and comfort. It does help to decrease oppression in the country. I found that page 213 was the most helpful for LGBT parents because this helps to decrease oppression. Just over the last few years, you've seen the struggle of people trying to get the right to marry, and being denied that right does create oppression. So when it's being allowed, it does decrease oppression within the country, and it gives people hope. And legal marriage protects the interests of all members of the family, just as heterosexual marriages. I listed these two pictures here because you see she's smiling and they're happy, as well as this photo here. You can clearly see in both photos there's no oppression, and this one reminds me more of security. They feel secure within the marriage of their LGBT parents. And another thing I notice here is she's happy, she's young, she's a child. She doesn't know good, bad, or indifferent. She just knows pure happiness. So that's why I chose this picture here. Challenges in LGBT marriages can cause child custody cases, as we've seen listed here on page 213. And another challenge that I found really interesting was that DOMA does not grant LGBT couples the same benefits as heterosexual parents. The LGBT parents are banned from receiving federal benefits. So here's a picture here. They're challenging the constitutionality of gay marriage in front of the Supreme Court. And concept and theories of this, I found this quote interesting on page 214 from a woman with inside the text. She's listing that she doesn't want to get married, so this marriage thing is going to make it harder for me to find a person in a relationship with. I know that because I don't want to get married, women will think I'm not a good potential partner and move on. It sucks because now I have to limit myself to other non-married kinds out there. Like finding a great girl wasn't hard enough already. I chose this quote because last week we were actually learning about the criteria to finding a soulmate for marriage. I just found this quote really interesting, so I did put this this photo here of a stubborn child I don't want to. And a theory that I also did find interesting is culture war. It's deep conflict over matters concerning human sexuality and gender is global. So that fit perfectly with the issues in LGBT parenting. And here's my works cited from our textbook, as you could find in Marriages, Families, and Relationships, Making Choices in a Divided Society by the author Lamana Marianne and Reedman Agnes.